Hey guys, this is Viper with another retrospective video review, and today we're going to be taking a look at something that probably most people don't remember at all. These guys were made by Hot Wheels in the early 90s, and on the outside, they look like your average Hot Wheels, monster truck. But the difference is, these trucks actually happen to be monsters. Ooh. These little gems from the early 90s are called Attack Packs, and I came across these while I was going through a bunch of boxes in my basement, and holy crap, this brings back memories. What's really funny about it, though, is after I found them, I actually went online and did a little digging. There's only one site that has any information about these guys, and I'm going to post it in the video description. I want to thank that guy for making the site, because without it, quite frankly, I would never have found anything. So he has nothing to do with me. He doesn't know I exist, but I'll give him credit. That's where I got the information. But anyway, apparently there was actually a backstory to these guys. The funny part about it is, I guess Al Gore must have been involved in the coming up with this backstory for these guys, but essentially, an energy source that promises clean, safe power for Earth is discovered in a remote rainforest. Captain Bob Catkin is selected to lead a team that will preserve the rainforest and to protect it from Rip and his evil rat pack. While in the forest, giant beasts attack the two teams and perform a molecule morph, melding man, machine, and monster into one. Empowered by the strength of the beasts, the power of their trucks, and the intelligence of man, the two rival teams battle for the last energy source and the future of mankind. That actually took a little bit of thought. I was actually quite surprised. But, needless to say, I actually learned a lot about these guys that I didn't know. I had no idea there were two teams of them that were good and bad. I had no idea that they were on a crusade to save the world. I just thought they were cool trucks, but then again, I was, 5. But anyway, I actually have quite a few of these guys. And these two are actually the leaders of both sides. As you can probably imagine, this is Rip Rat, who is obviously the leader of the Rat Pack, the bad guys. And this one is Slash Cat, and he is the leader of the heroic Cat Pack. And he, as you can imagine, is Captain Bob Catkin in his beastly truck mode. But as I said before, I do have quite a few of these little guys. I actually have the entire first run of them, which I'd never realized up until I came across that site. But there were 3 favorites that I had when I was younger, one of them being Slash Cat. And I guess we'll do the good guys first. And the next one being this guy. This is Sand Stinger, and he is essentially patterned after a scorpion. And when he opens up his mouth, he's got these cool little mandibles that come out on the sides. And I always thought this guy was like the coolest back in the day. And then the other good guy I've got is this guy. And his name is Tarantula. And of course he's patterned after a spider. Blah. Although I don't recall spiders having that many fangs, but you know what, it works anyway. And these 3 are pretty much the only guys I have who are actually good guys, at least in terms of these little guys. Next up, of course, we already know Rip Rat. To go with him, we've got Slaughterjaw, who has this nice little, I'm an alien and I'm going to go bite Sigourney Weaver kind of thing going on. And then this is my other favorite growing up. This is Dark Claw, who unfortunately has been pretty beaten and battered, and one of the wings doesn't work. But when he opens up, got like a bat thing going on. I always thought this was like the coolest back in the day. And honestly, I'm not ashamed to say I think it's still pretty cool. And then later on in a later line in the, or I should say a year later in 93, these came out in 92, they had some flying guys. And this is another evil Rat Pack member. Oops. Night Slayer. Then also, later on in 93, they had an alien invasion version. And this guy is named Maggot Mouth. And now to finish up the group of the smaller basic bad guy figures, the last line to come out were these. Now these were actually growling ones. When you pressed the button down, they actually growled. This guy's name was Grizzlor. I think he was the first of the line, but actually the electronics are starting to go, but they kind of still work. I don't know if it'll pick it up, but so it's an interesting little thing. And that's pretty much about it for these little guys. The line lasted from 1992 to 1993. As I said, they had the basic ones, then they had repaints of those. Then they had the flying ones, and they had repaints of those. Then they had the alien ones, and then they had repaints of those. Then they had the growling ones, and then they had repaints of those. Yeah, they had repaints of those too, actually. So that's pretty much all the line consisted of. But these are all the original guys. None of these are actually the repaints. These are all the original ones. But now we're going to move on to the last three that I own, which are actually the big guys. And now to finish up, here's a shot of all the little guys with the big guys. Now, as we've already discussed, bad guys over here, good guys over there. Now, I like to categorize it as sub-bosses and a boss, kind of like a video game. But this is Blowtorch. He's part of the evil Rat Pack. And just like with the other one over there, if you push down back here, the mouth opens as well as the front tires. And that's pretty cool. And there's actually a little missile, which I do have somewhere, that if you stick it in there and press this button up on top, the missile fires out. On the other side, we have Big Bones, and he is the good guy of the group. And when the button on the back is kind of screwy, but when you press it down, the mouth opens, as well as the front tires. And his special little feature is this here used to attach to the top of the truck right there. And what you would do is you would put one of these smaller guys into that little crane, and then these back here acted as like a prison, and you imprison the guys back there. And this one is Big Bones. And then we have the big guy. I do not have the Cat Pack equivalent to him, but this is Sliminator. He's, I guess, the big kahuna, he's like the Devastator to the Decepticons, pretty much, to use a Transformers reference. But the story behind him is essentially Sliminator possessed a cement mixer, and he coated the entire rainforest with cement and slime. And he actually came with a container of slime. And move this guy out of the way. And you have two modes for him. You could push up like this, and there we go. And the mouth will open and whatever else. And this bed down here opens up like that, and you can actually pour the slime in there and put one of the smaller ones in there. And also, you can detach him, and there's a little place for your hand right there. You can actually fly around with him. And that's about it. I figure I don't want to get too into detail with it because, this is really just more of a trip down memory lanes kind of video and not really a review of each of these little guys. Because, really, there's nothing to review. They're all exactly the same. But that's pretty much about it. I don't know if you guys remember them, but I'm sure anybody who does remember them, probably this video might bring back some fond memories. If not, you'll just say, wow, what pieces of junk. But that's about it for this video, and I will see you next time.